Have you ever paused in the stillness of your home, a faint unease stirring as your eyes linger on objects you've never questioned? What if the keepsakes you cherish, gifts from loved ones, relics from distant travels, are silently prying open doors to a darkness that seeps into your soul, chilling the air with unseen shadows? Could it be that your sacred sanctuary, meant to blaze with God's holy light, is unknowingly harboring influences that dim your faith, steal your peace, and pull you from His presence with every passing night? These aren't idle thoughts. They're a piercing trumpet blast, a divine summons to awaken your spirit and guard your home against the enemy's cunning schemes. The devil is a master of deception, weaving his lies into the fabric of daily life, lurking in objects, symbols, and traditions that seem innocent but throb with sinister intent. Many Christian homes, even those vibrant with prayers and love for God, shelter demonic influences disguised as harmless decorations, cultural treasures, or cherished heirlooms. Today we unmask 8 demonic objects that have no place in a believer's life. Objects so sly, so deceptively nestled in your home's corners, they can take root unnoticed, forging spiritual strongholds that choke your prayers, cloud your joy, and distance you from the Almighty's embrace. It's time to rise, to stand resolute, to cleanse your home and reclaim it as a fortress of God's truth and glory. The Bible thunders in James 4:7, "Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil and he will flee from you." This is our battle cry, a call to resist the enemy's influence by purging our homes of anything that dishonors the Lord. These 8 objects: idols, occult tools, horror art, witchcraft media, cursed relics, satanic music, fortune-telling devices, and sinful objects are not lifeless trinkets gathering dust on your shelves. They are gateways in the enemy's hands, portals to darkness, fear, and oppression that can shroud your household in a spiritual fog, stifling the light of God's presence. As we begin with the first object, cling to this truth. Every step you take to remove these influences is a bold declaration that your home belongs to God alone, a stride toward freedom, peace, and His unshakable spirit. Will you dare to search your home, to confront the enemy's lies, and to make your dwelling a sanctuary for the Lord? The first demonic object is idols and religious symbols from other faiths. From the ancient altars of Egypt to the modern homes of today, idolatry has been humanity's greatest stumbling block, a seductive snare that lures hearts from the one true God with false promises of luck, protection, or beauty. In countless Christian homes, statues of Buddha, Hindu deities, or ancient relics gleam on mantels, lurk in corners, or stand displayed as art, not as objects of worship, but as souvenirs from exotic journeys, gifts from well-meaning friends, or decorations to add a touch of culture. Some clutch charms or amulets, convinced they ward off evil or draw blessings, a jade pendant for prosperity, a carved totem for safety. They seem harmless, a nod to heritage, a spark of aesthetic charm, but their presence carries a spiritual weight heavier than stone, a silent defiance of God's command. The Bible cuts through with unrelenting clarity in Exodus 23:5. "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image. You shall not bow down to them or worship them." God's voice is a blazing fire. Anything that vies for the honor due Him alone is an idol, a crack in your home's foundation where darkness seeps in, grieving His heart. Picture a family, their home warm with faith, prayers rising like incense each evening. Yet, on their living room shelf, a small Buddha statue sits, its serene smile glowing under soft lamplight, a keepsake from a trip to Thailand. They don't worship it, they insist it's just decor, a conversation starter, a nod to culture. But as weeks pass, a heaviness descends, an unease they can't name. Their children wake trembling from nightmares, clutching blankets in fear. Prayers feel like they strike an invisible wall, and tension hangs like a thick fog, souring their once joyful home. They don't see the link until a pastor visits, his eyes drawn to the statue. With hesitant hearts they remove it, and the next morning peace floods their home like sunlight, prayers soar, and the nightmares vanish. This is no mere coincidence. Idols, even as ornaments, embody false worship, representing deities and rituals that stand in defiance of the Lord. They invite an unholy influence, forging strongholds that hinder His light, whispering lies that other powers can share His throne. Or consider Sarah, a young mother who kept a Hindu deity statue in her study, a gift from a co-worker. She admired its intricate carvings, but soon her home felt oppressive arguments flared without reason, her toddler grew fearful of shadows, and her prayers felt like whispers against a storm. A friend shared the danger of idolatry, and Sarah, convicted, shattered the statue. The change was instant. Her home felt light, her family's joy returned, and her toddler slept soundly. Such stories echo across countless homes. Many cling to idols out of sentiment, to grandmother's old charm, a friend's thoughtful gift, a family relic etched with history. But sentiment cannot justify what God calls detestable. Deuteronomy 7:25 commands, "The images of their gods you are to burn in the fire, for they are detestable to the Lord." Keeping idols, even for nostalgia, risks spiritual corruption, a silent invitation for darkness to linger, a crack where fear and oppression take root. Some protest, "I don't worship these objects, they're harmless." But idolatry isn't just bowing down, it's giving space to anything that dishonors God. A Buddha on your shelf, a lucky amulet in your drawer, these are not neutral. They carry the weight of pagan rituals, false gods, and spiritual forces that oppose the Almighty. Psalm 121, 7-8 proclaims, "The Lord will keep you from all harm. He will watch over your life." Why trust a charm when the Creator Himself guards your soul? Others blur the line with religious art statues of saints, icons, or unbiblical depictions of Christ that cross into veneration. Lighting candles to images, praying to statues, shifts worship from God to objects, a subtle idolatry that clouds true faith, turning devotion into ritual. God calls you to be set apart, your home a beacon of His glory, a sanctuary where His Spirit dwells unhindered. Ask yourself, does this object honor God? Does it align with His Word? If not, it has no place in your life. Removing idols is not just obedience, it's liberation, clearing the path for God's presence to reign. One believer, haunted by fear, found an old talisman in her attic, a family heirloom. When she burned it, the oppression lifted, and her home became a haven of peace. Another, struggling with sleepless nights, discarded a gifted totem, and joy returned. These are not myths but testimonies of God's power to restore when we obey. Will you take that bold step, purging your home of idols to shine with His holiness? Will you declare your home a fortress, free from the enemy's shadows, and invite the Lord's light to reign unchallenged? Your home is His will, you make it holy. Have you ever stood in the quiet of your home, a cold shiver rippling through you, as if an unseen presence stirs among the objects you've welcomed without question? What if the tools you thought were harmless, a deck of cards for guidance, a crystal for calm, a haunting painting on your wall, are not mere trinkets but gateways to a darkness that binds your soul, chilling your prayers with an icy, unrelenting grip? Could it be that by keeping these items you're swinging wide the doors of your household, inviting the enemy to weave his deception into the heart of your sanctuary, threatening the peace and joy God yearns to pour upon you and your family? The devil is a master of subtlety, cloaking his schemes in the seductive allure of enlightenment, wellness, or artistic expression, slipping into Christian homes through objects that seem benign but pulse with spiritual peril. As we press forward to unmask the 8 demonic objects that have no place in a believer's life, we turn to 2 insidious influences: occult and New Age items, and horror or dark fantasy art. These are not innocent curiosities, playful games, or creative flourishes. They are tools of deception, crafted to lure you from God's truth, pry open portals to demonic influence, and shroud your home in fear, confusion, and oppression. The Bible warns in Ephesians 5:11, "Have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them." Today, we shine God's blazing light on these objects, exposing their hidden dangers, urging you to cast them out and reclaim your home as a fortress of His radiant presence. Will you heed His urgent call to purge these influences, to slam shut the doors to darkness, or let the enemy's shadows tighten their hold, dimming the glory God desires for your life? The second demonic object is occult and New Age items, a treacherous category that masquerades as pathways to wisdom, healing, or spiritual awakening, yet plunges deep into the forbidden realms of witchcraft, divination, and pagan mysticism. Tarot cards, Ouija boards, pendulums, crystal balls, smudging sage bundles, essential oils for mystical rituals, and even yoga poses. These are peddled as tools for self-discovery, wellness, or harmless fun, slipping into homes under the guise of modern spirituality or playful curiosity. But their roots are anchored in practices God explicitly condemns, practices that invite spiritual bondage and demonic influence. Deuteronomy 18:10-12 thunders, "Let no one be found among you who practices divination or sorcery or engages in witchcraft. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord." These objects are not games or trendy decor. They are instruments designed to draw you from God's truth into the enemy's web of lies, forging strongholds that can haunt your home with fear, confusion, and an oppressive weight that stifles your faith. Picture Emily, a young woman drawn to a deck of tarot cards at a friend's urging. "It's just a bit of fun," she's told, as she shuffles the ornate cards, their cryptic symbols glinting under flickering candlelight in her dimly lit apartment, seeking answers about her future love, career, destiny. But that night, vivid nightmares seize her, shadowy figures lurking in her dreams, their whispers chilling her soul, their forms twisting in the corners of her vision. Her prayers falter, A creeping fear shadows her once joyful home, and an oppressive weight lingers, as if the air has thickened with an unseen malice. She doesn't connect the dots until a pastor, led by the Spirit, warns of divination's danger. With trembling hands, she burns the cards in her backyard, praying for God's cleansing, and the next day, the nightmares cease. Peace floods her home like a warm dawn, and her prayers soar heavenward again, unhindered. Or consider Mark, a father who bought a polished amethyst crystal for positive energy after a wellness seminar, placing it on his nightstand as a beacon of calm. But his home grew tense, arguments erupted without cause, his children grew restless, unable to sleep, their laughter replaced by anxious whispers, and a strange unease clung to the walls like damp rot. When he discarded the crystal, praying for God's restoration, the heaviness lifted, his family's joy returned, and their home felt alive with warmth once more. These stories are not rare, but echoes of countless believers who, unaware, opened doors to darkness through occult items. Ouija boards, marketed as parlor games, are notorious gateways to the demonic. Lisa, a teenager, curious about spirits, used a Ouija board in her attic, giggling as the planchette slid across the dusty board under her fingertips. But laughter turned to terror when whispers filled her room at night, objects moved in the shadows, and a dark presence lingered, oppressive and cold, until her parents, desperate, destroyed the board and prayed for deliverance, banishing the fear that had gripped their home. Pendulums, used to answer yes or no questions, claim to tap into universal energy, but they bypass God's sovereignty, inviting deceptive spirits that sow confusion and doubt. Crystal balls and scrying mirrors, used in occult rituals, promise hidden knowledge but deliver counterfeit visions, luring users into spiritual bondage with promises of insight that crumble into despair. New Age practices like manifesting speaking desires into existence promise control over reality but strip God from the equation, placing faith in human will or cosmic forces, a subtle idolatry that grieves his heart. Proverbs 3:5-6 urges, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." Why seek to manipulate the universe when God holds your future in his hands? Yoga, often dismissed as exercise, is steeped in Hindu spirituality, its poses designed to honor deities, its meditation emptying the mind, leaving it vulnerable to deception. Joshua 1:8 commands, meditate on God's word day and night. True meditation fills your mind with his truth, not pagan voids that invite darkness. Smudging sage essential oils for mystical rituals, and crystals claim to heal or protect, but Psalm 103:2-3 declares, "Praise the Lord, who heals all your diseases." Why seek stones or rituals when God offers divine healing, his power unmatched by any counterfeit? These practices, draped in the allure of wellness, are idolatry in disguise, shifting trust from the Creator to creation. The enemy's deception is cunning, presenting these items as empowering or harmless, but they are doorways to darkness, forging strongholds that can manifest as fear, confusion, or even paranormal disturbances. A college student, Anna, plagued by anxiety, found a pendulum in her dorm, a gift from a friend who dabbled in New Age practices. She used it to find clarity, but her fears grew, her sleep fractured by visions of shadowy forms. When she discarded it, praying for God's peace, her anxiety melted, and her faith grew strong, her dorm a haven once more. Countless believers testify that removing occult and New Age objects, tarot decks, Ouija boards, crystals, sage-banished nightmares, restored prayers, and revived their home's peace. God calls you to trust Him alone, not the counterfeit promises of mysticism. Will you cast out these tools of deception, slamming shut the doors to darkness, or let them linger, inviting the enemy to fester in your home and steal the joy God offers? The third demonic object is horror and dark fantasy art, a seductive influence that slinks into homes under the guise of creativity or aesthetic allure, yet poisons the spiritual atmosphere with fear and a dangerous fascination for evil. Paintings of demons with glowing, malevolent eyes that seem to follow you, skulls dripping blood onto cracked canvases, grotesque creatures clawing through nightmarish scenes of despair. These are not mere art, but invitations to darkness that can choke the peace from your home, casting a pall over your family's joy. So too are dark fantasy images, witches casting spells under moonlit skies, their incantations swirling in the air, fallen angels with tattered wings brooding in eternal torment, or mythical beings tied to pagan myths that whisper of forbidden powers. These are not neutral decorations. They glorify fear, death, and evil, opening your home to a spirit that opposes God's radiant peace. 2 Timothy 1:7 proclaims, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. When you surround yourself with images that cultivate terror, you invite the very fear God rejects, dulling your spiritual discernment until darkness feels like home, its chill seeping into your soul. Imagine Alex, a teenager who hung a dark fantasy poster in his room, its twisted figures and eerie glow, a cool addition to his space, a gift from a friend who loved Gothic style. But soon, anxiety gripped him, his sleep shattered by terrors of shadowy forms lurking in his dreams, their claws scraping at his mind, their whispers taunting him in the dark. His parents, unaware, felt a heaviness in their home, their prayers faltering, their once warm space cold and tense, as if a fog had settled over their family, draining their unity. When they removed the poster, burning it in a prayer of cleansing, the oppression lifted. Alex slept soundly, his laughter returned, and their home pulsed with life once more. Or consider the Thompsons, a family who displayed a Gothic painting in their dining room, its demonic imagery, a striking gift from an artist friend. Nightmares haunted their children, waking them in tears, screaming of monsters in the dark that seemed to step from the canvas. Discord simmered without cause, tearing at their once close bond. When they burned the painting, praying for God's restoration, peace flooded their home like a river, their children slept calmly, and joy returned to their table, their meals filled with laughter again. These images desensitize you to evil, making darkness feel normal, even appealing, until your heart grows numb to what once repelled you, your conscience dulled by the enemy's lies. Isaiah 5:20 warns, "Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light." Many horror artists draw from nightmares or occult practices, some openly admitting demonic inspiration, their work carrying a spiritual imprint that lingers like a curse, tainting the air with unease. A young couple, David and Rachel, drawn to a grotesque sculpture at an art gallery, placed it in their living room thinking it bold and artistic. But sleepless nights followed. Arguments flared over trifles, and their home grew heavy with an unease that drained their love, their once vibrant marriage strained. When they discarded it, praying for God's cleansing, tranquility returned, their home warm with affection once more. Another believer, John, kept a skull-laden painting in his office, a conversation piece from a local exhibit. But his work grew stressful, his sleep plagued by visions of death, his mind clouded with dread until he removed it, and his clarity returned, his office a place of focus again. Children are especially vulnerable, their young hearts shaped by what surrounds them, prone to fear or fascination with the supernatural when exposed to dark imagery. Proverbs 22:6 urges, "Train up a child in the way he should go." A mother, Sarah, tormented by her daughter's night terrors, found a demonic sketch in her room, a gift from a classmate who dabbled in horror. The sketch's twisted figures seemed to leer from the paper, casting a pall over her daughter's sleep. When Sarah destroyed it, praying for God's peace, her daughter's fears vanished, her smiles returned, and their home felt alive with warmth. What atmosphere are you crafting for your family, your children, your own soul? Philippians 4:8 calls us to focus on whatever is true, noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable. Art should reflect God's beauty, lifting your soul to worship, not dread, drawing you closer to His glory, not the enemy's terror. Believers who remove horror and dark fantasy art report a transformation piece replaces fear, prayers flow freely, and homes pulse with life. These objects are not art, but anchors for darkness, tethering your home to the enemy's influence, sapping the joy God intends. Your sanctuary is meant to be a beacon of God's presence, a place where His Spirit dwells unhindered, where your family thrives in His love. Will you search your walls, your shelves, your corners, and cast out images that glorify fear and evil? Will you purge these object-suckle tools and haunting arto, reclaim your home as holy ground, or let the enemy's shadows steal the peace God offers? Stand firm, examine your spaces with courage, and let God's light banish the darkness, for your home is His, a fortress meant to shine with His glory alone. Choose today to make it holy, to invite His presence, and to live in the freedom He promises. Have you ever paused to consider the stories that line your shelves, the images that flicker across your screen, or the songs that echo through the rooms of your home, their allure masking a hidden peril? What if the books you read for escape, the movies you watch for thrills, or the voices you follow online are not just entertainment, but subtle invitations to a darkness that creeps into your soul, luring you from God's truth with a siren's call that promises adventure yet delivers deception? Could it be that these seemingly harmless pastimes are weaving a web of spiritual corruption, opening unseen doors to oppression in the very sanctuary where you seek God's peace, threatening to dim the light of His presence in your life and family? The enemy is cunning, draping his lies in the seductive guise of fantasy, knowledge, or empowerment, slipping into Christian homes through the media we consume without a second thought, their pages, pixels, and rhythms cloaking a danger we rarely suspect. As we continue to unmask the 8 demonic objects that have no place in a believer's life, we turn to a pervasive and seductive influence, books and media promoting witchcraft and the occult. These are not mere stories, shows, or songs. They are powerful tools that normalize darkness, desensitize hearts to evil, and invite demonic influence into your home, threatening the faith, joy, and peace God desires for you. The Bible warns in 1 Peter 5:8, "Be alert and of sober mind. Your enemy the devil prowls around like a roaring lion looking for someone to devour." Today, we shine God's blazing light on these influences, exposing their hidden perils, urging you to cast them out and guard your home as a fortress of His radiant truth. Will you examine what fills your mind and home, or let the enemy's lies take root, sowing discord where God intends harmony? The fourth demonic object is books and media promoting witchcraft and the occult, a category that has flooded modern culture, slipping into homes under the guise of entertainment, self-help, or cultural trends. Their vibrant covers, gripping plots, and catchy beats masking a spiritual danger that can entangle the soul. From fantasy novels about spell-casting heroes to horror films depicting demonic rituals, from music pulsing with dark undertones to social media influencers touting mystical practices, these media glorify witchcraft, divination, and supernatural powers that operate outside God's holy authority, leading believers astray with promises of adventure, wisdom, or empowerment. Deuteronomy 18:10-12 is unrelenting. "Let no one be found among you who practices divination or sorcery, or engages in witchcraft. Anyone who does these things is detestable to the Lord." These books and media are not harmless. They are seeds of deception, planting fascination with the occult, opening doors to spiritual bondage that can shroud your home in fear, confusion, and a heaviness that stifles your prayers, faith, and joy. Picture Chloe, a teenager captivated by a best-selling fantasy series about young witches wielding magic, their wands sparking with power under starlit skies. The books, stacked proudly on her shelf, their vibrant covers adorned with mystical runes, promise adventure and escape from her mundane routine. But as she devours page after page, a curiosity grows. She searches online for real spells, stumbling onto shadowy forums that promise power and control, their cryptic instructions glowing on her screen. Soon her room feels heavy, as if a fog has settled over her posters and books, her sleep plagued by nightmares of swirling shadows that writhe in the corners of her vision, their whispers taunting her. Her prayers falter, her once bright spirit dims, and a sullen withdrawal replaces her laughter, casting a pall over her family's home. Her parents, unaware, notice the change, their evenings tense with unspoken discord, their once warm space strained. When a youth pastor warns of occult influences, Chloe reluctantly burns the books, her hands trembling as she prays for God's cleansing. The next day the nightmares cease, her faith reignites, her room glows with light, and her smile returns, brightening their home with joy once more. Or consider James, a father who binged a horror series about demonic possession, drawn to its gripping plot and chilling suspense, the TV screen casting eerie shadows across his living room as scenes of rituals and hauntings unfolded. But his home grew tense. His children woke screaming from terrors, clutching blankets in fear of monsters under the bed, their small faces pale with dread. His wife felt an unexplained unease, as if a cold presence lingered in their halls, chilling their once cozy evenings. Their prayers seemed to strike an invisible wall, their home shrouded in a heavy, oppressive air. When James deleted the series from their streaming app and prayed for God's protection, peace returned like a river. Their children slept calmly, their laughter filling the house, and their home pulsed with warmth, their evenings joyful once more. These stories are not rare, but echoes of countless believers who, unaware, opened doors to darkness through occult media, their homes heavy until they acted in obedience. Fantasy novels, like those about young wizards or spell-casting heroes, may seem harmless. Their tales of magic woven with charm and adventure, their pages promising a world of wonder. But they normalize witchcraft, planting seeds of curiosity that lead to darker paths. Readers, enchanted by fictional spells, often seek spell books, astrology guides, or New Age self-help tomes promising hidden knowledge or power, their glossy covers and bold claims stacked on nightstands or tucked in e-readers. These works claim to unlock secrets of the universe, how to manifest wealth, summon love, or control fate, but they lead away from God's truth, enticing believers to trust in forces beyond His will, to chase counterfeit wisdom that crumbles into despair. Proverbs 3:5-6 urges, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding." Why seek mystic secrets when God's word is a lamp to your path, His guidance unfailing? Horror films and TV shows, with their vivid depictions of demons, possession, and occult rituals, are equally perilous. Their flickering images searing fear into the heart, their soundtracks pulsing with dread. Some directors consult witches or occultists to craft authentic scenes, infusing their work with a spiritual imprint that lingers like a curse, tainting the air with unease. Sarah and Michael, a young couple, watched a horror movie about a haunted house. Drawn to its suspense, the TV's glow casting ghostly shadows across their cozy living room as scenes of seances and specters unfolded. But sleepless nights followed, their toddler waking in terror of shadows in the corner, her small voice trembling, her eyes wide with fear. Their home grew heavy with unease, their once happy evenings strained by bickering and tension. When they stopped watching and prayed for God's cleansing, the fear lifted, their toddler's smiles returned, and their home felt safe, their nights peaceful, their love renewed. Music, too, carries occult-influenced songs with lyrics about summoning spirits, casting spells, or defying God. Their hypnotic rhythms and dark imagery and videos pulsing with an energy that unsettles the soul. Ethan, a college student, loved a band known for its satanic themes, their music pounding through his headphones as he studied, its raw power fueling his late nights. But anxiety grew, his sleep fractured by visions of fire and chaos, his dorm heavy with a tension he couldn't name, his once clear mind clouded with dread. When he deleted the songs, praying for renewal, his mind cleared, peace returned, and his dorm became a haven, his studies fruitful, his heart light once more. Social media amplifies this danger, with influencers promoting tarot readings, astrology, or spell work as empowering or spiritual. Their vibrant posts and soothing voices, captivating young believers scrolling through feeds late at night. Laura, a mother, noticed her daughter's obsession with an influencer teaching manifestation, her prayers replaced by affirmations to the universe, her Bible gathering dust as she chased cosmic promises. Laura felt a rift growing, their home's joy fading, their evenings tense with arguments. When she blocked the account and prayed with her daughter, tears falling as they sought God's truth, their home's joy returned, faith flourished, and their evenings were filled with worship, their bond restored. These media are not neutral. They shape minds, dull consciences, and normalize what God calls detestable, eroding faith with every page turned, every scene watched, every lyric sung. Romans 12:2 warns, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. What you consume molds your heart, either drawing you to God's light or the enemy's shadows, either lifting your soul to worship or dragging it into dread. The enemy's strategy is insidious, presenting these books and media as entertainment or enlightenment, but they are doorways to darkness, sowing fascination with the occult that can lead to fear, confusion, or a chilling distance from God. Daniel, a young man, found himself drawn to astrology apps after following an influencer, his Bible neglected, as he checked daily horoscopes, seeking guidance from the stars. Anxiety gripped him, his prayers hollow, his apartment heavy with unease, as if a fog had settled over his life. When he deleted the apps and returned to God's Word, his faith was restored, his heart alive with truth, his home a place of clarity once more. Another believer, Maria, binged a series about vampires and witches, drawn to its romance. But nightmares followed, her sleep haunted by dark figures, her prayers weak. When she deleted the show, peace returned, her prayers powerful, her mind clear. Believers who remove occult media, fantasy novels, horror films, dark music, or mystic social media accounts report freedom from fear, restored prayers, and homes filled with peace. A family, plagued by tension, found occult books in their attic, inherited from a relative who dabbled in mysticism. When they burned them, praying for cleansing, harmony returned, their home a haven, their evenings warm with love. These are not myths, but testimonies of God's power to restore when we obey His call to purity. Your home is meant to be a sanctuary, a place where God's presence dwells, where your family grows in His love and truth, where faith flourishes free from fear. What stories fill your shelves? What images flicker on your screens? What voices echo in your ears? Are they drawing you closer to God, or luring you into the enemy's trap? The media you consume shapes your soul, your faith, your home's atmosphere, either lifting you to worship or dragging you into dread. Will you examine your books, your playlists, your screens, and cast out those that glorify witchcraft and the occult, that normalize what God abhors? Will you purge these influences to reclaim your home as holy ground, or let the enemy's lies take root, stealing the peace God offers? Stand firm, search your spaces with courage, and let God's truth banish the darkness. Choose today to fill your home with His light, to guard your heart with His word, to protect your children's souls, and to live in the freedom He promises, for your home is His, a beacon meant to shine with His glory alone. Have you ever felt a shadow linger in the quiet corners of your home? An unshakable unease that seems to emanate from the objects you've kept for years, their silent presence stirring a chill deep in your soul? What if the heirlooms tucked away in dusty boxes, passed down through generations, or the music pulsing through your rooms, its rhythms gripping your heart, are not just relics or melodies, but conduits for a darkness that seeps into your life, defying the peace God intends for your sanctuary? Could it be that these cherished items and sounds, held dear or played carelessly, are swinging wide the doors to the enemy's influence, threatening to shroud your home in oppression, where God's radiant light should reign supreme, casting a pall over your family's joy? The devil is a crafty deceiver, weaving his schemes into objects and sounds that seem sentimental, harmless, or thrilling, slipping into Christian homes through the keepsakes we treasure, or the music we embrace without a second thought. As we press on to unmask the 8 demonic objects that have no place in a believer's life, we confront two potent influences: cursed and inherited items, and satanic or occult music. These are not mere trinkets gathering dust on your shelves or tunes filling the air. They are vessels of spiritual darkness, carrying the weight of demonic influence, inviting fear, discord, and spiritual bondage into your home, dimming the faith and peace God desires for you. The Bible warns in 1 Corinthians 10:21, "You cannot drink the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons too." Today, we shine God's searing truth on these objects and sounds, exposing their hidden perils, urging you to cast them out and reclaim your home as a beacon of His holy presence. Will you search your spaces, silence these influences, and stand resolute, or let the enemy's shadows fester, stealing the joy and freedom God offers your family? The fifth demonic object is cursed and inherited items, a category of objects that carry a spiritual weight far beyond their physical form, often tied to occult practices, pagan rituals, or the sins of past generations. Their presence a silent menace in your home. Voodoo dolls with pinned limbs, talismans etched with cryptic symbols that seem to pulse faintly, Masonic regalia cloaked in secrecy, occult jewelry glinting with forbidden signs, ceremonial masks staring blankly from shelves, or tattered books of magic with yellowed pages. These items, whether inherited from family or acquired unknowingly, bear a dark legacy, forging spiritual strongholds that bring oppression, fear, or chaos into your home, their influence lingering like a cold fog. Exodus 25 speaks of the iniquity of the fathers, passing down through generations, a sobering warning that objects linked to sin or idolatry can carry curses that affect those who possess them, disrupting the peace God intends. These are not mere heirlooms or curiosities. They are anchors for demonic activity, tainting your home's atmosphere with a presence that chills the heart, stifles prayers, and sows discord where love should flourish. Picture Anna, a young mother who inherited a carved wooden box from her grandmother, its intricate symbols gleaming under the attic's dim light, its surface worn by time, a relic of family history. She placed it on a living room shelf as a sentimental treasure, unaware it was a ritual tool from her ancestors dabbling in occult practices, its contents hidden in shadow. But her home grew heavier. Children woke screaming from night terrors, their small voices trembling about eyes in the dark, watching from the corners, their faces pale with fear. Arguments flared without cause, tearing at their once close family, and Anna's prayers felt stifled, as if a veil hung between her and God, her faith faltering under an unseen weight. When a pastor warned of cursed objects, Anna opened the box, her heart pounding as she found occult charms nestled inside, their cold metal glinting with an eerie malice. She burned the box in her backyard, praying fervently for deliverance, and peace flooded her home like sunlight. Her children's fears vanished, their laughter returned, and their evenings brimmed with love, their prayers soaring heavenward once more, unhindered by darkness. Or consider Tom, a young man who bought a second-hand necklace at a flea market, its strange swirling symbols catching his eye, its dark stone gleaming under the vendor's lamp like a forbidden secret. He wore it proudly, a bold accessory, unaware it came from a pagan shrine, its history steeped in rituals that defied God. But unease followed. Strange noises echoed in his apartment at night, creaks and whispers that set his nerves on edge. His sleep fractured by visions of fire and smoke that left him gasping, and his home felt cold, as if joy had fled. replaced by a chilling tension that clouded his days. When he discarded the necklace, praying for God's cleansing, tranquility returned, his home a haven, his nights restful, his heart light with renewed faith. These stories echo across homes where cursed items linger, their dark legacy disrupting lives. A family, plagued by discord, found an old book of spells in their basement, inherited from a relative steeped in mysticism, its yellowed pages seeming to hum with a strange, unsettling energy. Their home felt oppressive, arguments erupting daily, their once warm evenings strained. When they destroyed it, praying for renewal, harmony returned, their home vibrant with peace, their family's love restored. Masonic relics, voodoo dolls, or jewelry etched with occult symbols, often passed down through generations, carry spiritual baggage, linked to secret societies or pagan rituals that defy God's truth, their presence a silent curse. Objects from temples, shrines, or haunted locations, masks with hollow, staring eyes, statues with eerie, frozen smiles, or clothing worn in dark rituals bear a demonic imprint that can unsettle the soul. Psalm 115, 4:8 warns that idols and their makers are lifeless, yet their influence invites darkness, a spiritual weight that oppresses. Even everyday items, furniture, books, or trinkets can become cursed if used in occult practices or owned by those immersed in witchcraft. A couple, struggling with unexplained fear, found a thrift store mirror that once hung in a medium's home, its surface seeming to reflect more than light, its frame heavy with an unseen presence. When they shattered it, praying for God's protection, their home felt light, their fears dissolved, and their love renewed, their evenings warm with joy. Another believer, Emily, kept a ceremonial mask from a family trip, its carved features haunting her hallway. Nightmares plagued her, her prayers weak, until she burned it and peace returned, her home a sanctuary once more. These objects are not neutral, they carry a legacy that can defile, disrupt, and destroy, their darkness a barrier to God's presence. Will you search your attic, your shelves, your closets for such items, casting out their hidden curses, or let their shadow linger, dimming the peace God intends for your family? The sixth demonic object is satanic and occult music, a powerful influence that seeps into the mind and soul, shaping thoughts and emotions with a force that can invite darkness, its rhythms and words resonating with a spiritual power that lingers like a storm. Songs with lyrics about devil worship, summoning spirits, casting spells, or glorifying violence and rebellion are not mere music, they are spiritual conduits, carrying the intent of their creators, often steeped in occult practices or open defiance of God. Heavy metal, gothic rock, or certain rap and electronic genres pulse with demonic imagery, inverted crosses flashing in music videos, pentagrams glowing on album covers, or chants that invoke dark forces, their rhythms hypnotic, their melodies weaving a spell that unsettles the soul, drawing listeners into a trance-like haze. Proverbs 18:21 declares, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and music, as an extension of speech, wields that power, planting seeds of fear, anger, or despair in the listener's heart, its echo lingering like a curse, tainting the air with unrest." Imagine Rachel, a teenager who loved a band known for its satanic lyrics, their music blasting through her headphones as she navigated her chaotic school days, its raw energy a refuge from her struggles. But anxiety gripped her, her sleep haunted by visions of fire and blood that left her trembling, her room heavy with a tension that drained her joy, as if the walls themselves absorbed the music's darkness. Her parents, unaware, noticed her withdrawal, their home strained by arguments, their once warm evenings cold with discord, their faith faltering under an unseen weight. When a youth leader warned of occult music's influence, Rachel deleted the songs, her heart pounding as she prayed for renewal. Peace returned, her nightmares ceased, her room glowed with light, and her laughter brightened their home, her spirit free, her faith restored. Or consider the Wilsons, a family who played dark electronic music at gatherings, its pulsing beats and eerie chants a cool backdrop, their living room vibrating with its energy, the air thick with an unsettling hum. But their home grew tense, their children anxious, waking with fears they couldn't name, their eyes wide with dread, their prayers weak as if a fog had settled over their faith. When they stopped the music, praying for God's cleansing, harmony returned, their home warm with love, their evenings filled with joy, their children's smiles radiant, their family whole once more. These are not harmless tunes, but spiritual forces, inviting darkness through lyrics and rhythms that glorify rebellion or the demonic, their power lingering like a venomous echo. 1 Corinthians 10:21 warns, "You cannot have a part in both the Lord's table and the table of demons." Music festivals or concerts promoting these theme stages ablaze with occult symbols, crowds swaying to chants that pulse with defiance can become altars of spiritual oppression, drawing listeners into darkness, their hearts heavy with unease that clings like damp air. Michael, a young man, was drawn to a band's occult-themed performance, its stage glowing with pentagrams, its music a siren's call. A heaviness lingered for weeks, his faith shaken, his apartment cold, his nights restless, until he renounced the music and prayed for deliverance, his heart restored, his home alive with peace, his days filled with clarity. Another believer, tormented by anger, found his playlist filled with violent, occult music, its beats fueling his rage. When he replaced it with worship, his spirit softened, his home a sanctuary, his heart calm, his life renewed. Believers who remove satanic or occult music report a transformation, freedom from fear, restored prayers, and homes pulsing with life, as if a veil has lifted, God's presence flooding their spaces. A mother, tormented by her son's anger, found his playlist filled with dark music, its lyrics a hymn to chaos. When they deleted it, praying together, his spirit softened, his smile returned, and their home felt alive, their evenings warm with love. These objects and sound-cursed relics and dark melodies are not neutral. They shape your soul, your home's atmosphere, either lifting you to God's glory or dragging you into the enemy's shadows. Your home is meant to be a sanctuary, a place where God's presence dwells, where your family thrives in His love, where faith flourishes free from fear. Will you search your collections, your playlists, your hidden corners, and cast out cursed items and occult music that defile His peace, that invite darkness into your sacred space? Will you purge these influences to reclaim your home as holy ground, or let the enemy's shadows steal the joy, the freedom, the light God offers? Stand firm, cleanse your spaces with courage, and let God's truth banish the darkness. Choose today to make your home His, a fortress shining with His glory, a haven where His love and truth reign unchallenged, for your home belongs to Him and Him alone. Have you ever sensed a quiet tremor in your soul, a whisper of doubt stirred by the objects or habits you've allowed to linger in your home? What if the tools you turn to for answers, or the indulgences you justify as harmless, are not just distractions but open gates to a darkness that clouds your faith, defiling the sanctuary where God's peace should reign? Could it be that your home, meant to be a beacon of His glory, is harboring influences that invite the enemy's deception, threatening the holiness and joy God longs to pour into your life? The devil is a master of disguise, cloaking his schemes in curiosity, pleasure, or tradition, slipping into Christian homes through objects and practices we dismiss as trivial, but carry a spiritual weight that can bind the soul. As we conclude our journey to unmask the 8 demonic objects that have no place in a believer's life, we confront the final 2 influences: fortune-telling devices and sinful objects, encouraging immorality, followed by a call to cleanse your home fully. These are not mere tools or entertainments. They are lures of deception and defilement, opening doors to demonic influence, sowing fear, lust, and rebellion where God's truth should flourish. Leviticus 19:31 warns, "Do not turn to mediums or seek out spiritists, for you will be defiled by them. I am the Lord your God." Today, we expose these final threats, urging you to purge them and dedicate your home to God's holy presence. Will you cast out these influences, or let the enemy's shadows dim the light God intends for your life? The 7th demonic object is fortune-telling devices, tools that promise insight into the future but deliver deception, luring you from God's truth into the enemy's lies. Tarot cards with their cryptic symbols, Ouija boards that slide under trembling fingers, pendulums swaying with eerie precision, crystal balls gleaming with false visions, scrying mirrors reflecting more than light, astrology apps buzzing with daily horoscopes. These devices, marketed as games, self-discovery tools, or spiritual guides, are rooted in divination, a practice God forbids. Isaiah 8:19 asks, "When someone tells you to consult mediums and spiritists, who whisper and mutter, should not a people inquire of their God?" These tools bypass God's sovereignty, inviting deceptive spirits that sow fear, confusion, and spiritual bondage. Their influence a silent curse that can haunt your home. Picture Emily, a college student drawn to a tarot deck at a party, its vibrant cards promising answers about her uncertain future. She shuffled them under dim lights, seeking clarity, but nightmares followed shadowy figures whispering in her dreams, their voices chilling her soul. Her apartment grew heavy, her prayers faltered, and anxiety gripped her. When a friend warned of divination's danger, Emily burned the cards, praying for God's cleansing, and peace returned. Her nightmares ceased, her faith restored. Or consider a family who used an Ouija board as a fun game, laughing as the planchette moved. But terror followed. Strange noises echoed at night. Their children woke screaming, and their home felt cold, as if joy had fled. When they destroyed the board, praying for deliverance, tranquility returned, their home warm with love. These devices are not harmless. They open demonic doorways, defiling the soul and home with a presence that opposes God's peace. Will you search your spaces for such tools, or let their deception linger, threatening your faith? The 8th demonic object is sinful objects encouraging immorality, items that entice lust, rebellion, or addiction, defiling the sanctity of your home. explicit magazines, movies, or websites that glorify sexual sin, immodest clothing designed to provoke desire, alcohol or drug paraphernalia that fuel excess. These objects normalize impurity, dulling your conscience and inviting darkness. Ephesians 5:3 declares, "Among you there must not be even a hint of sexual immorality or of any kind of impurity, because these are improper for God's holy people." A young man, David, kept explicit videos on his laptop, justifying them as private. But guilt consumed him, his prayers weakened, and his home felt tense, as if purity had fled. When he deleted them, seeking God's forgiveness, peace returned, his heart cleansed. A family struggling with discord found immodest clothing in their daughter's closet, relics of a rebellious phase. When they removed them, praying for renewal, harmony returned, their home a haven. Proverbs 20:1 warns, "Wine is a mocker and beer a brawler. Whoever is led astray by them is not wise." Objects tied to addiction, drug pipes, liquor bottles can tether your home to destruction. A father battling relapse kept old drug paraphernalia as a memento. When he discarded them, his home felt light, his family's love restored. These objects defile, but removing them invites God's purity. Will you purge such items, or let impurity taint your home? Your home is meant to be a sanctuary, a fortress where God's presence dwells, where faith and love flourish, unhindered by darkness. The 8 demonic objects we've unmasked: occult tools, horror art, witchcraft media, cursed relics, satanic music, fortune-telling devices, and sinful objects. They are not mere possessions. They are the enemy's weapons, designed to steal your peace, cloud your prayers, and distance you from God. Acts 19:19 tells of believers who burned their occult books, breaking ties with darkness to walk in God's light. Their homes became havens, their lives transformed. You stand at a crossroads. Will you cling to these objects, risking spiritual oppression, or cast them out, dedicating your home to God's glory? Testimonies abound of homes restored when believers acted in obedience. A mother haunted by fear removed a fortune-telling app, and her family's joy returned. A couple, torn by tension, purged sinful media, and their love was renewed. Your home is a sacred space, a reflection of your faith. Search every corner, every shelf, every screen, and remove anything that dishonors God. Burn, discard, deletado, whatever it takes to cleanse your space. Pray for His protection, dedicate your home to His service, and invite His Spirit to dwell. Philippians 4:7 promises, "The peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds." Will you purge these demonic influences, reclaim your home as holy ground, and live in the freedom God offers? Will you make your home a beacon of His glory, a place where His love reigns, where your family thrives in His truth? Stand firm, act today, and let God's light banish the darkness, for your home is His, a sanctuary meant to shine with His holiness forever.